Good evening. Today is Sunday, October 12th, 2025. I'm Rich Stevens, and this is the Cold Take. What you are about to hear is news from this week taken only from primary sources like press conferences and court documents. You can find sources and attribution for every story at thecoldtake.com. We begin in Maine, where Secretary of State Shanna Bellows spoke Monday announcing that absentee voting had begun 30 days prior to Election Day, asserting that elections in her state are fair, safe, and secure. After describing the process of printing, packaging, and shipping of absentee ballots, she insisted that even if the chain of custody is broken, Maine elections are still secure. She then announced that 250 blank absentee ballots were allegedly delivered to a Maine resident in an Amazon shipment with other items. Maine law enforcement is working with the FBI to investigate these claims. She noted that one town was missing 250 ballots when their shipment arrived, and that the Elections Division was notified by a private organization from out of state that they believed they were in possession of absentee ballot envelopes. While admitting that it appears that there may have been attempts to interfere with the election, she was insistent that the election cannot and will not be tampered with. Her full remarks are available at thecoldtake.com. Also Monday, Chicago Mayor Johnson signed the ice-free zone order. It requires all city property to display a sign stating that the property may not be used for, quote, civil immigration enforcement, including as a staging area, processing location, or operations base. He asserted that ICE agents are violating the constitutional rights of Chicago residents and that this order aims to protect residents and immigrants. The White House called the order a, quote, disgusting betrayal of every law-abiding citizen, with President Trump saying on Truth Social that the mayor should be in jail for failing to protect ICE agents. Wednesday, New York City mayoral candidates participated in a town hall event where each was able to give brief remarks before taking questions. Zohran Mamdani, Curtis Sliwa, and Andrew Cuomo took questions about crime, budgets, housing, and education. The election will be held on November 4th, just over 3 weeks from now, and you can watch the whole event at thecoldtake.com. New York Attorney General Letitia James was indicted by a federal grand jury in Virginia Thursday on one count of bank fraud and one count of false statements to a financial institution. She has said that her indictment violates selective prosecution protections, accusing the president of weaponizing the justice system. James made repeated comments about his presidency being illegitimate and vowed to sue him and cause him problems. She did sue Donald Trump in civil court in 2024 during his third presidential campaign and obtained a judgment against him for $500 million. A court later upheld his wrongdoing but overturned the judgment. You can read the indictment and civil suit papers on thecoldtake.com. And on Friday, Donald Trump signed a presidential proclamation officially recognizing October 13th as Columbus Day. He expressed gratitude to Italian immigrants and their contribution to the United States, and also noted our close national relationship with Italy. We have not yet mentioned that this was the first full week of the ongoing government shutdown that began at midnight on Tuesday, September 30th.
Did you get permission from your boss?
Why don't we sign on right now?
Did your boss, Donald Trump?
You can easily extend the ACA
Did your
right
boss,
now.
Donald Trump,
He's
give
not
you
my
permission?
boss.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not. And by the way,
so let me ask you a
why
question.
did you vote to shut the government down? Why did you vote to shut it down?
Let me ask you a question.
For years, you always lectured about how we need to keep the government open.
You're making a show of this to make yourself relevant.
It's sad. You could easily sign on to this.
You're embarrassing yourself right now.
You could sign on to this. The only embarrassment here
Today is the 12th day of the shutdown, and we plan to bring you a special edition of the Cold Take later this week to explain exactly what is happening and why.
How much is this as soon as you guys vote to open the government? You don't want to be on the Epstein discharge. How much?
It's totally absurd. You guys are experts at red herrings and distraction.
Moving along.
No, it has nothing to do with Epstein. The House Oversight Committee is working on the Epstein files right now, releasing 34,000 pages and more on the way.
You know she's key to that discharge petition.
Let me finish. The House Oversight
You
Committee.
just keep coming up with excuses. This is an excuse, so she doesn't sign on to that.
This is absurd.
This is the longest time the House.
Do you want me to answer the question? If you ask the question,
you cannot actually answer the question.
Click subscribe to be notified when that video is available. Shifting away from politics, Wednesday, the U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California announced the arrest of Jonathan Rinderknecht for starting the fire that ultimately burned down the Palisades. The fire killed 12 people, destroyed 6,800 structures, and damaged 1,000 more. He was arrested Tuesday in Florida on the felony charge of destruction of property by means of fire. The suspect allegedly used ChatGPT to generate images of people running from wildfire months before. The U.S. Attorney indicated that the fire was started with an open flame, was initially suppressed, but moved underground before being reignited by wind a week later. Rinderknecht could face up to 20 years in prison if convicted. Ghislaine Maxwell, serving a sentence of 27.5 to 55 years for her role in Jeffrey Epstein's abuse and exploitation network, had appealed her sentence to the Supreme Court. Her attorneys argued that her prosecution violated a non-prosecution agreement between Epstein and the U.S. Attorney, that the statute of limitations had expired, and that her Sixth Amendment right to a fair trial had been violated. The Supreme Court rejected her request on Wednesday. Friday morning, a facility in Hickman County, Tennessee, that processed ammunition and explosives suffered a catastrophic explosion. Initially, authorities believed 19 people missing or deceased. As of last night, 3 had been determined to not have been present, but 16 are now presumed dead and their families have been notified. Due to the volatility of the scene, ATF, FBI, and local law enforcement are investigating slowly and carefully. The cause is not yet known. Diane Keaton passed away this week. She appeared in all 3 Godfather films and won the Oscar for Best Actress in 1978 for her performance in Annie Hall. Diane Keaton was 79 years old. The IRS released the tax inflation adjustments for 2026 this week. The standard deduction increased minimally, and the individual tax bracket earnings amounts were all increased as well. Estate tax credits went up by $1.5 million. In markets, the Dow Jones Industrial Average erased 4 weeks of gains, with a sharp decline Friday to close at 45,479. The Nasdaq suffered similar losses, closing at 22,204. The S&P 500 dropped to 65.52. Gold, meanwhile, hit an all-time high and closed at $4,018 per ounce. Silver is over $50 for the first time ever. The previous high was $47.91 in March of 2011. Crypto saw sharp declines yesterday, with Bitcoin losing over $10,000 per coin, and others experiencing as much as a 20% loss. The MLB divisional playoff round wrapped up Friday night with the Brewers taking Game 5 from the Cubs and moving on to the ALCS, where they will face Toronto, who beat the Yankees in 4 games. In the National League, the Dodgers will face the Mariners. Seattle needed 15 innings to win Game 5 against the Tigers on Thursday night. Former NFL quarterback Mark Sanchez was charged with felony battery resulting in serious bodily injury this week. The charging document alleges that Sanchez was intoxicated, became involved in a dispute over a parking space, and injured the other driver. He could face as much as 6 years in prison if convicted. And finally, in college football, number 7 Illinois beat number 3 Oregon 30-20. Number 6, Oklahoma, lost the Red River rivalry with Texas in a 23-6 game. The rest of the top 10 survived, with Ohio State beating Illinois, Ole Miss escaping Washington State, and number 5, Texas A&M, beating Billy Napier's Flailing Gators 34-17. Like it or not, that's what happened. I'm Rich Stevens, and this has been The Cold Take.